We opened our doors for business in London over 40 years ago, and we're still trading on the same values now as we did then. Professional, dedicated, and trusted. We are the MECO Group.
Today I'd like to summarise a recent decision handed down by the High Court just 2 or 3 months ago in June. It's on the much vexed issue of time bars and how the High Court will interpret a clause here in a series of voyage charter parties requiring the parties to have commenced proceedings within a specific time. And secondly, how the court would consider a Section 12 application by a party who fails to comply with that time bar. As you may know, Section 12 simply is the ability of a party to approach the High Court for their discretion to grant them further time in certain circumstances. The facts of this case are straightforward. There was a cargo claim brought against the head owners, and in each of the back-to-back voyage charter parties there was a clause making clear that any claim other than demurrage must be brought within 13 months after the final discharge. It was a classic case, unfortunately, that the head owner in the voyage charter party chain received notice just on the final day of that 13-month period, and moreover at 6:37 in the evening after business hours. So the critical issue is, what steps should P, that party, take in relation to preserving time? And if they commenced thereafter, would the court allow and hold that they've preserved time? Well, the court looked at the string of charter parties, and as I say, the clause was identical in each, and held that there's no reason to interpret those stringent time bar clauses differently purely because you have a string of back-to-back voyage charter parties. In other words, the fact of the series of back-to-back charters made no difference to the literal construction that would be applied to a time bar clause. So on the face of it, although P received notice of the claim literally on the night of the final day, it was then too late for him to commence down the line. So P's other recourse was to say, well, fine, if the court's going to apply it so stringently, like, for example, the Centricon clauses are often applied in charter parties, what I'd like to do is bring a Section 12 application to say to the court, well, that's fine, but the circumstances must be such here whereby I'm afforded a further amount of time. After all, I only received the notice of the claim after hours on the very final day. And the court looked at the Section 12, and again, it's very interesting, it's very instructive to see the way courts will apply a Section 12 application. And they said the problem with P's application is that, in fact, he didn't move expeditiously or commercially appropriately. In other words, the critical test was, what did he do the next day after he received the notice of commencement from the owners? And in fact, it took P a whole week before they appointed their arbitrator down the line, and the court held that that was neither expeditious nor commercially appropriate, and therefore denied P the Section 12 application, and therefore P's recourse claim down the charter party chain is time barred. So what can we derive from this much vexed issue? It's a typical issue that we come across with our assureds in relation to preserving time in charter parties. The courts, as is clear from this decision, will apply very stringently clauses agreed, notwithstanding that it's in a series of back-to-back charters. The fact of the back-to-back will not give assureds comfort in saying it's no wonder we were late. But secondly, and most importantly, the assureds need to be alive to the dangers of this where they're in a series of back-to-back charters. An obvious way forward would be, for example, to agree a slightly shorter period in relation to the charter with their owner than is the case with the clause down the line to their charterer, thereby avoiding that nightmare scenario which happened in P versus Q, where their notification arrives after business hours on the final day. So it's a very interesting case, a very useful case, and one to which all our members should be well aware. Thank you very much.